It is the Doomsday podcast, and Ed Werder and I have made it back to our palatial suite high atop AT&T Stadium, and the Cowboys lose this one 27-17. I think, Ed, you used the word dismal after this one. This was another. I mean, how many different ways can we say it? The one thing you thought you could count on was Dak and the offense going crazy at home and putting up a lot of points. It didn't happen tonight. They had somewhat of a late rally, but it didn't really amount to much. And part of their scoring came on a block punt. Ed, let's start with what was going on after the game. Jerry talking in circles, which isn't highly unusual, but Ed, he's talking about this trade, which earlier today he said he would be consummated tomorrow. I think he's trying to make up his mind if he really needs to do anything, as bad as this thing is, at 3-5-1. I believe by the end of it, Ed, he indicated that he was leaning toward going ahead and making at least one trade.
Yeah, so he was very vague. He seemed to characterize it differently after the game than he had earlier in the day, which he spent most of on ESPN, and tried to create all this interest and drama about this potential trade. And it made me wonder if the trade was conditional upon the Cowboys beating the Cardinals and getting to 4-4-1, that it was a trade he would make under that circumstance, but maybe reconsider his interest level if his team lost tonight and went into the bye week at 3-5-1, which they will now do. The other possibility is that, he was trying to use it to protect and instill fear in players who are going to play tonight on defense, thinking that, hey, maybe this is my last chance to make a favorable impression and keep my job. If that was the case, it failed miserably. But, walking off with him after he did the big group post-game interview outside the locker room, I tried to get a sense of the magnitude of the deal. I asked him if it involved any of the first-round picks that they have. They have 4 first-round picks the next 2 years. They're the only team that can make that claim. He would not say. He would not say whether it involved any of the players on the Cowboys roster being moved. I said, why haven't you just made the trade? And he said, we couldn't make it today. And that for reasons he wouldn't explain. Then he said, I agreed with the team involved that we wouldn't speak about it publicly and that it's there for me to make if I want to make it. And like you said, he said, I'm probably more inclined to make it than not.
And what's funny is when Jerry's kind of tired at the end of a long, bad, sorry night, he'll sort of, you can almost lead him places. Did you notice, like, I leaned in at one point and I said, so are you leaning? And he goes, and he just kind of stopped. He just takes he's just like, yeah, I am leaning toward doing this. I'm leaning toward it. And so there was some interesting back and forth that was happening with Jerry after this, yet another embarrassing loss, 2-5 Cardinals with the backup quarterback. Ed, this team's lucked out a bunch over the past 2 or 3 seasons with playing backup quarterbacks. Tonight it didn't matter. Jacoby Brissett was probably as accurate or more accurate than Kyler Murray has been. And Jerry admitted to that too, that he thought that avoiding Kyler Murray was going to be a good thing, and it didn't really turn out to make much difference as the Cowboys lose this one. We're going to continue. We've got early mornings. At least one of us does. I'll let you guess which one. Let's play.
Angel will be sitting here 15 minutes from now.
The Z-Man, Zach Burke, please play the music. All right, and Cowboys lose this one. Ed, let's hit on a few things that occurred in this game. One was Cowboys go right down the field. Here they come, going to set the tone. They get down aggressive. They're going to be aggressive. They're running the ball well with Javonte Williams, and they get inside the 10-yard line, and they got a first and goal situation, and they end up going. Yeah, but they go for it on fourth and goal from the 4-yard line instead of taking the points. And it was a very aggressive move. Maybe the thought, well, it's the Cardinals. I don't know what the respect level was for Arizona. I mean, based on what we saw from Arizona, it should have been a lot higher than it was. And the Cowboys end up. And so Boy, that really that was one way to set the tone for the evening.
Well, I think if you look at it, and you talked about it going, into the break, the thing that they'd relied on was just their dominance on offense, especially their dominance on offense at home. I mean, they're the highest scoring team in the league at home. They're the highest scoring team in the league, and they're 3-0 coming into the game against opponents with losing records. And now all of that is gone. Never anticipated that they would go from scoring 41 points a game against teams that didn't have winning records at home to scoring 7 points with their offense and having 3 turnovers and going 1 for 3 in a red zone, which started with the sequence you're talking about to open the game. They just really never got anything going. They looked really very much like the team that was stymied offensively in Denver last week. This is the only time they've had the same result twice in a row is this one. This is the first time they've either won or lost back-to-back games. They've lost back-to-back games, and they looked a lot alike. And, going into the bye, Dak Prescott said, hey, I'm frustrated. I'm not discouraged. He said that they've got to find answers for the problems that they're having, especially in the red zone, which you brought up. He said they've got to look at what other people are doing in the red zone, maybe borrow plays from other teams, see what some of the trends are, try to incorporate some of that. They've got 2 weeks now before they play the Raiders, but I'm not sure they can undo the damage that was inflicted upon them here tonight. I mean, I really think they needed to win this game. They need to win the Raider game, because then you're talking about, a 12-day stretch where you're playing the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Lions. I mean, this was supposed to be the easy part of their schedule. The first half of their schedule is far easier than the back end, and they're 3-5 and won 3 games. So at some point, if you're going to be seriously considered and you're going to regard yourself as a playoff contending team, like, you got to prove that you're a good team, and they haven't done that.
No, and I think Jerry, like you said, he spent all day trying to get people excited, and then he had the comments this week in the Wall Street Journal, basically, hey, I'm talking to you about this natural gas and the $1 billion bet he's placed on that out in East Texas. He's like, instead of out fixing my defense tonight, I mean, you could say, well, maybe he needs to go try to fix the offense now. I think even Troy Aikman during the broadcast tonight on Monday Night Football on ESPN basically laughed at the thought that they're going to make a trade, saying, really no use in doing that. You need to do a whole lot of things.
You say there's not one player. There's no one player they can acquire on defense who's going to change the outcome.
No. And it's kind of a waste. I mean, who knows if they'll have Pickens moving forward. They've got Pickens, they've got CD, they got all this explosive. And even tonight, by the way, Pickens, who's been really good throughout much of this season, made a play where, again, you can say, well, the officials shouldn't have. Maybe it wasn't, but he took the football in the replay. This was late when they really needed to be moving the ball down the field, and he reached out and appeared to taunt the defensive player, and the 15-yard penalty was called, and they moved him back.
I don't know what, if anything, he might have said in addition to that.
Maybe. But
that in and of itself barely amounted to taunting by my definition, and I know they're trying to get that out of the game almost without concern for how minor it may seem in the moment, but that's the kind of penalties that he used to attract in Pittsburgh that he's largely avoided here. And it came at what they were, furiously trying to score late in the game. Had a chance. I think they cut it to 10, right? And they were trying to score, and he backed them up 15 yards on that, and they went up losing that possession on downs without scoring.
Well, and had a chance. Also, I mean, they we got to talk about these turnovers. They, in Arizona, I'm reminded, because they haven't been good this year. I kind of forgot Buda Baker, such a great player, and they're good at punching the ball out. They made plays. And one was in the open field. Ferguson had a fumble and
early in the game.
Yeah, and then Javonte Williams late has the fumble, and that they literally, even if he did get stopped there, which he did on third and long, that was 3rd and 12 play, they were going to have a chance to kick a field goal there and make it 27-20, and they had 3 timeouts left, so it could have at least been interesting, and he fumbles the ball there. fans were booing, and it wasn't
the defense primarily. It was mostly when the defense was on the field, and just like missed tackles everywhere. I mean, Shamar James was terrible. The rookie linebacker, they kept beating him in the flat. He could never make the tackle, much less break up a pass. That's, to me, when the fans, registered their objections to what they were seeing. Yeah. Just got tired of all the missed tackles and big plays and just shoddy defensive play all around.
To keep on the defense for a second.
Well, the Cardinals were the fifth team this year. It was only 27 points, but they're the fifth Cowboys opponent this year to score their season high point total against Dallas.
Oh, I think
Denver did it last week. The Giants did it. The Packers did it. I mean, it's just obscene the way they're playing on defense. And, like Troy said, there's probably not a move they can make for any defensive player who can change the outcome.
I mean, the only thing from a positive standpoint, Ezraku's been giving some more chase, and he's had
got another sack.
Got another sack in this game. He's had pressures in the last 4 games, and he looked okay. Clowney made a play, had a sack, I believe, and then Fowler came in and made a play late.
Eddie Clark, I think, had a sack.
Kenny Clark.
Overall, just not good enough on defense.
And,
create no turnovers.
It's one thing if like a Kalen Carson or a Bridges or somebody like that, but, here they give the big money contract to Deron Bland. One of their other guys that they gave big money to, Diggs, can't even show up.
$97 million to Diggs, $92 million to Bland.
One guy's having accidents at home and can't get to the games and is out for however long. We may not see him again this year. Who knows? And then one guy just can't cover. I mean,
he's falling down in the end zone.
On that play, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr., who's had some issues this year, dropping the football and, that kind of thing. And, on that play, he just literally, he just gave him a little stutter step move. It was going to be an inside move, and Bland just literally fell on his head. He did a little somersault. I mean, he dropped him. And then, again, like you say, very highly paid guy. These are not, they got one safety back tonight. Wanya Thomas was back there, but there's Marquise Bell's trying to play.
Yeah, they're missing 3 of their 4 starting defensive backs, and I think that was a lot of reason that people thought Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals coach, who, by the way, this is the first time in his 3-year career that he's won. The Cardinals have won coming out of a bye. It's not unfamiliar for them to win here. They've won 4 straight games at Dallas. But he coached in the NFC East with Philadelphia, and there was a sense that this was kind of a soft benching for Kyler Murray, and that they wanted to play Brissett because he's a much better passer. He's a pure pocket passer. There's more discipline involved. He can read the defense, make the checks at the line. He throws in the middle of the field, whereas, Murray looks at his first receiver and takes off. And that's a dangerous guy to play too. And that's why Jerry said, I thought we caught a break. We were going to have to play that guy. Yeah. Because Murray was coming into the game as the only quarterback in the league who led his team in running the football. And it was only like 179 yards. This is a team that did not run the football at all. But I think it was actually advantageous to them to have Brissett playing quarterback tonight, because that gave them the best chance to take advantage of a bad secondary and what has generally been a defense that doesn't rush the passer with any consistency.
Yeah. I thought Jerry, after this one, was in the mode of like, you could have said anything. Like, Jerry, this is the worst team I've ever seen. And he would have been, that's fair. That's fair. Had you noticed, everybody was saying, Drew, they were like, that's pretty fair. Jerry was very, and it was just, you're a long time and you had a great long career at ESPN. So I'm not going to pull you off sides here, but it is kind of embarrassing that Jerry's sitting up there. I mean, Stephen A. Smith has made a big part of his career in recent years on just completely clowning on the Cowboys. That's a huge part of his whole shtick, is making fun of the Cowboys. And then he's up there in the suite sitting with Jerry. And then after one of those turnovers, he gets up. He's like, okay, man.
My time to go. Now, take my pink suitor out of here.
I'm gonna move on down the road. So a very strange time. It's a long time removed from one time he was flying in. They were trying to get me to go out and meet him at the airport to pick him up when he was writing for ESPN.com. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And I will have to say, that was a very humble Stephen A. Smith. That night, I was blogging. And, of course, you remember I was writing 5 to 10,000 words a day, is Stephen A. Smith comes up and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing? I don't want to step on your toes with anything."
Oh, right.
And I thought
he would never Bigfoot anyone.
So, but that night, Stephen A. was being a little bit of a shrinking violet. Not tonight, as he sat up in the suite. All right, Ed. So now, Ed will be on WFAA tomorrow morning about 6:30. Mark Istook, y'all did some really good pregame stuff. It looked like. I know Glenn Stretch Smith was part of all that, and then I saw a whole delegation of folks come in late. There was one of those anchors down there that seems to be a big NFL fan that was hanging out with you and Joe. She's
Michelle Montaigne?
No, I know her. There's another woman that was in line to eat with you guys. Yeah, it's on the show as well. I don't know. I've seen her and she's good. She does a good job in Kelly. Okay, anything, last thoughts? Offense was bad, defense was bad. Going into the bye week now. We'll see if the trade gets made tomorrow. Final thoughts from you.
I guess the last thing I would say is, Brian Schottenheimer after the game made a big point out of how many hits Dak was taking tonight. Like, we can't have that. He got sacked 5 times. But looking at the numbers, and I mentioned Jonathan Gannon was a former defensive coordinator in this division with the Eagles, so he's familiar with Dak. He knows what bothers Dak Prescott maybe than most defensive coordinators outside the division. And I thought they did a really good job creating pressure. Dak was pressured 19 times in the game and got sacked 5 and threw a pick while under pressure. I think the 19 pressures were the second most he's faced in the last 3 years. I think the Giants pressured him 21 times in week 2 last year. So an enormous amount of pressure on Dak created by the Cardinals on a pretty consistent basis. Dak actually, limped to the locker room. He got rolled up on by Calais Campbell. It's nothing he thinks is going to, set him back especially with extra time to get ready for the Raider game 2 weeks from tonight. But Schottenheimer just vowed that you can't win that way. We can't expose our quarterback, at age 32 to that kind of punishment.
All right. We also had Lee Greenwood out here tonight at halftime. How many times do you think he's done that song?
I'll always listen to it.
Like at least 6,000 times, I would say. And then President Bush was here, and the First Lady, former First Lady Laura Bush, and the mics caught him. Did you hear that at all?
No.
I guess he was pretty impressed with Calais Campbell. And
good Lord.
Good gosh, or something.
And what else the mics caught? On Jacoby Brissett's quarterback sneak in the third quarter, it caught some lineman for the Cardinals saying too effing easy. Too easy. It's kind of like what we heard I think it was with the Ravens a few years ago. Maybe, Calais Campbell played for the Ravens back then too. But he wouldn't have been on the field at that time.
No, but it was too effing easy.
That's the slogan. Compete too effing easy.
All right, Ed, we're going to dismiss you. You got big TV in the morning. We're all going to have Glenn Stretch Smith. This could be an angry version of him. He's been doing some WFAA as well. Ed, we appreciate it. Always love having you on Doomsday. Going late this evening, but hopefully you can make it downtown and be in position tomorrow morning, and all of us will be up.
I'm sure you will.
Watching some Channel 8 to hear more about our commute, what the traffic is, what the weather is, and what's going on as well with the Dallas Cowboys. Ed, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, there he goes. Ed Werder on the Doomsday Podcast. Here comes Glenn Stretch Smith. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. You'll get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code Doomsday to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. So that's promo code Doomsday. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia.
and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369.
It is time for Stretch Place with Glenn Stretch Smith, former Cowboys scout and coach, former assistant for Barry Switzer at Oklahoma, and former player for the University of Texas. And he joins us now, and he's had a lot of stuff tonight. He had a big pregame show, WFAA. He's been hard at it, and the Cowboys lose this thing tonight, and 27-17. And Stretch it, this feels like a real damning. They go into the bye week now. We don't know if Jerry's going to make this trade. We don't even know if the trade would really help at all. This is not a great moment for this team. But I wanted to start you off with the beginning of this game. Cowboys are pretty aggressive, moving the ball, running the ball. They get down in the red zone, and then after being first and goal, they bog down. And they have a 4th and goal from the 4-yard line, and they decide to go for it down there and end up getting sacked. What was your reaction to that decision from Brian Shoddy Schottenheimer?
Yeah, I mean, you had it before. You had it 4th and goal. You had it 3rd and goal from the same spot, and certainly you would have thought that at that point in the game you haven't run anything really down there in close, what I would consider to be like a 2-point play, something that you think is absolutely going to score. But whatever you call on 3rd down, it didn't get it done. And at that point, at that time in the game, you kick the field goal. I don't want to hear about the analytical side of it right there. This is not the same thing that we're talking about a Denver game a week ago where he didn't go for it late in the 3rd quarter, and you absolutely knew that you had no answers for Denver's offense at that point. At this point in the Monday night game, you don't know what Jacoby Brissett can do. You don't know how he's going to respond to the lights at AT&T Stadium or a Monday night football game or any of the things that go along with that. So that to not kick the field goal there and go up 3-0, to me, leads you to make another bad decision in the 3rd quarter where you don't kick it, and you literally could have made this a 1-possession game. And I'm saying all that because guess what? This team has lost 5 in a row the last minute of the game. And if you looked at the expressions of their coaches, even in a 10-point game with 7 minutes to play, they're thinking, uh-oh, here we go again. And you absolutely, in my mind, you were, when you didn't kick the field goal there, you're gambling on a credit card, which means you can just say the hell with it. I ain't paying that credit card. I'm not paying that balance. It's not the same thing as putting your money down and actually going and playing in that situation. I thought it was a bad gamble at the wrong time of the football game, Matt.
All right. They get down. It looks like that punt block Stretch was going to give them a little life, and it makes it 10-7. You see Jerry up there yucking it up with Stephen A. Smith and all the stuff that came with that. And Arizona came right back down the field and scored. I want to hear, and I think people want to hear from you on this defensive side of the ball. On one hand, Ezraku is starting to come along. You're getting some guys that are helping you a little bit in the pass rush. But Jerry acted like he's leaning toward going ahead and making some form of a deal tomorrow, all right, at the trade deadline, is there any position in your mind that if you got like I don't know, somebody decent, somebody that has some skins on the wall, you could really make a big impact on this defense? Or do you see so many holes that it's hard for you to imagine one player making that much difference?
Yeah, I think you literally could go across. If you look at the depth chart of this team and where they're at right now, you think about where they are with Trayvon Diggs. I don't know that Trayvon Diggs will ever suit to be a Cowboy again. And you look at where they are with Hooker being down, Wilson being down. I could make a case for a ball hawking safety. I could make a case for a corner. I could make a case for a linebacker. They put Sanborn to IR. Does that really mean anything? I don't know. I don't think so. But really, they're poor there. They're not. They don't even read and recognize from a route recognition standpoint. So I could make a case for a linebacker. I could make a case for a defensive end, and I can make a case for a defensive tackle. So why don't you blindfold yourself while you're right there at AT&T and just throw a damn dart against the wall? Because wherever it hits, I mean, that'd be fine taking that guy. I'd be fine with whoever it is. What I don't want to do is get in a situation where we're just thinking about this year. I mean, you got to think about next year. This defense is so porous that they're going to have 5 or 6 guys in order to make what I would feel like would be a leap from, let's say, the bottom to say 22. I mean, just jump up 10 spots. You're going to need 4 or 5 guys. And so if you start doing it this year at the trade deadline, 1, 2, or 3 of them, whatever you decide to do, at the end of the day, you're still going to have the majority of this offense back next year in probably a pretty decent window. So you've got to figure out how to get your football team better right now. So I'm not for a 1-year rental. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm for getting the football team better because it is. I mean, on that side of the football, it's just as bad as anything I've ever seen.
All right, and that'll be interesting to see what kind of trade, if there could be any changes, if just as in terms of what they do moving forward here on the other side stretch. I mean, there were holding penalties, there were sacks given up. Walter Nolan, who used to play at A&M, then went to Ole Miss. Josh Sweat, who used to be with the Eagles, won a Super Bowl over there, plays on this Arizona team. Calais Campbell. They certainly were getting some hits on Dak after the game. The head coach said that Dak took too much punishment. From what you saw, this has been a team that scored a ton of points and put up big numbers at home. The Cowboys have against some kind of inferior type teams. This was a 2-5 team, and the offense did not do enough. What did you think was the biggest issue? What was your biggest issue with this offense tonight? Certainly, they did not score as much as the Cowboys needed.
Well, first of all, I mean, when you talk about the offensive line, BB came back in at center, and they actually replaced Steele late in the game with Thomas. So, I mean, this is an offensive line that needs to work together. Where they beat at tackle some, yeah. I mean, Sweat, good football player. Obviously, Walter Nolan was the 16th player picked in the draft for a reason, and he's a good football player. So, Calais Campbell's good football player. That they're more than adequate on the defensive line. Did the offensive line play well? No, they didn't. And I'm going to give them a little leeway there because this is a group that hasn't worked a lot together because it's been Bass and Hoffman, and we know rotationally the guys who have been in there. Here's what I'm going to say is that Arizona came into this football game and said, we're not going to allow you to hit the home run. We're not going to allow you to do it. You can run a 10 or 12 play drive. You can get the ball in the red zone, and then we're going to probably tighten it down a little bit once you get there. And they didn't allow you to hit the home run. They didn't allow you to hit the deep overs. They didn't allow any of that. And so you, as a play caller, then have to say, okay, we got to be patient. We got to take what the defense is giving us. We got to win the time of possession, and we got to be able to convert on third downs. And I don't think Dallas understands the true meaning of saying, hey, we're going to have to be patient, because guess what? They haven't had to be. They've been able to hit home runs when they needed to hit home runs. And you saw, I think you saw Denver do it last week as well. I mean, even with Surtain out, they were able to kind of keep everything in front of them. And today, Arizona was going to give you those comebacks out there to Pickens. I mean, they were going to give you the underneath stuff. They were going to give you the options to the tight ends. And if you chose to take the ball and move it in a 8, 10, 12 play drive, then get in the red zone, then you were going to have to hammer them a little bit to get the ball for 6 instead of settling for 3. I saw a team that just is not used to doing that. They were not used to doing that, and I think that's something that you're going to see more teams start to do, is to say, we're not going to let you hit the home run. Even the ball they hit up the boundary to CD was a scramble situation for Dak. So, I thought they opened the game with a 9-yard run, then an 8-yard run. They hammered the ball right down in there, and then they couldn't score. So I just think teams can make you, or they can take away one thing that you can do offensively, even as good as the Dallas offense is. And I think this team needs to take a step back, reevaluate where they're at offensively and defensively, because the last 2 weeks they've not had any answers, and then come back and do some self-scout, figure out where you are from a quality control standpoint, look at yourselves, and see if you can reset this thing. At 3-5-1, I mean, I think realistically, you hope this team can get back to about a 500 football team, because I really think that's just where you're at. I want to believe that they're better than that, but they're showing you, whether it's Carolina, Chicago, Arizona, I mean, they're showing you continually that, they're just as average as those teams are.
Yeah. And honestly, Chicago pulled one out yesterday, and they seem to be a team on the come a little bit. And the Cowboys just going the wrong direction. Stretch, I appreciate it. Good work today, both for Channel 8, and then I know you got some stuff. You'll probably have some stuff tomorrow at the noon hour there. And so appreciate you doing this, staying up late with us.
Have a good night, man. See you, bud.
All right, there he goes, Glenn Stretch Smith on Stretch Plays, and that's where we're going to leave it tonight. We had Ed Werder, as always, and great to have him. And then Stretch Plays. It's not good. It's 3-5-1. Help does not appear to be on the way. Maybe DeMarvion Overshown comes back after the break. Maybe they make a trade tomorrow. But at some point, even you heard Troy Aikman almost kind of laughing at the thought that a trade was going to make much difference. This team is not good. It's a bad defensive team, and quite honestly, the offense isn't clicking right now. And so this thing is in a ditch, and I don't know if there's anything that's going to turn this thing around. We'll continue, though, to do Doomsday. We'll take next Sunday off, and then, of course, come back the following week, and we'll do it the rest of the way. And we'll follow, and we'll see if anything, any significant changes happen with this roster, with this trade. If there's anything that's really big tomorrow, we'll do an emergency podcast. We'll jump in and we'll react to it. And that's the way we do it here on the Doomsday Podcast. For Rogue Media Network, Zach Burke, the Z-Man, for Glenn Stretch Smith, and for Ed Werder, I am Matt Mosley from AT&T Stadium. We will talk to you in a couple of weeks.
We are Rogue Media Sports.